Hello everybody, 'tis I, the Rumpled One, Thursday morning, April the 18th, the year 2013. Well, even though I'm not feeling 100%, last night I went into Mayberry to go to that school board meeting. It was called the School Safety Public Meeting. And the meeting was started at 7:15, scheduled to end at 8:15. So I got there at 7 o'clock because one, I wanted to get a good parking spot, and two, I wanted to get a good seat. Well, I was the first one there. Sad to say, there's only 5 people in the audience, including me. And the reason this was sad was because none of us in the audience were parents. There was one lady who was a substitute teacher. There was an 18-year-old high school senior. There was a guy who had been a school teacher. I think he had 30 years in his career. And then there was another lady who was a grandmother. And then there was myself. No parents showed. That's just sad. To me, once again, I've done videos about schools, and I say it starts at home with the parents. Well, you can see something such as school safety, especially here in the 21st century, wasn't much of a concern to get people to leave their homes, maybe quit watching TV or playing on the internet or drinking beer or whatever, to come out for an hour to have some input into the school safety. So I wasn't really planning on saying anything at the meeting, but sometimes I just can't just sit there. I have to ask questions, because if I hear something that was just seemed a little out there, I just want to see if I could maybe swing the pendulum, get it to move back a bit, because I just wanted to see how far they were going to take this, if they were doing things that I would consider crazy, insane, overboard, or if they were just doing common sense things and, letting kids be kids. They talked about the policy on the threat of violence. That's kind of interesting, because there was an incident where I think it was a 5th grader or something wrote a bunch of notes to his classmates, something about "you're going to die." Well, the school got a little upset, and what threw the political spin, it was one of the school board members' son. So of course, there was a little outrage about how things were handled. And then we also had the sergeant, one of the sergeants of the Mayberry police force was there. And, nice enough guy. Interesting, their views. As I've said before in videos, if you give a baby a hammer, everything becomes a nail. And they see everything as a nail. And their tool is always the hammer. Doesn't matter if you give them the screw and tell them to use a screwdriver, they got the hammer and they want to use it. Well, we were talking about various things, and basically there's zero tolerance on weapons in the school. Now, I don't know if I have it in my pocket, but I usually have my little Swiss Army knife. You know, the little ones go on the key ring. Blade's about what, maybe that long? Not very long at all. That knife can get you expelled for 1 year. Now, back when I was in school, I used to carry a switchblade. That's right, I carried a switchblade. It wasn't for fighting, it was just because it was a cool knife, and every now and then you'd have a reason to use a knife, and it was just cool to pull it out and flick it. In fact, in one of my knife videos, I still have that switchblade knife. And before that, I always carried a pocket knife. It was no big deal. Nowadays, it gets you expelled. I don't know if I can really agree with that. And then furthermore, the thing about the hammer and the nail was the senior that was there said, "What if I have my knife in my glove box in my car? Is that okay?" Nope, that's not okay if you park it on school property. So I'm thinking, as a prepper, in my glove box, there's always a knife and a screwdriver, maybe even a razor blade. A few other prepper type items, tools. So I raised my hand. I said, well, what would happen if, this young man, his car broke down and he had to borrow his dad's pickup truck. He drove it to school, and in the glove box there was a hunting knife or something. And the police officer, sergeant, said, he replied, well, it's the same as if you borrow somebody's car and you get pulled over and there's dope in the car. It's, as far as we're concerned, it's your dope. So you see how there's this desire to prosecute, persecute, to find fault with, as opposed to see if there's a legitimate, reasonable reason for the person to have this or not know that this was even there in the first place. See, they're more interested in finding a perpetrator. This is a, finding a crime, finding a law that can be applied to this situation so somebody can be arrested and have to go to court and then get into the system. See, that's where I personally have a problem with these types of things. Then they talked about hazing, harassment, intimidation, bullying, and menacing. And they were talking about cyberbullying. I actually kept my mouth shut because my degree's in computer science, and the whole idea about cyberbullying to me is ludicrous. Back in my day, yeah, I got bullied. I did my share of bullying, and it's just part of kids being kids, growing up, learning to be tough. You got to take it. If you think you're getting bullied in school, wait till you got to get out in the real world. I've been called every name in the book, and you can imagine what kind of names I've been called. But you know what? My parents, taught me sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you, with the exception of maybe in the court of the law when the judge says guilty or you are now sentenced. Those words will hurt you. But back to the point. Cyberbullying, that's just ridiculous. To me, the kids should be taught, so what? So what if somebody says something on YouTube or Facebook about you? So what? Who cares? You don't have to read their page. It doesn't have to, you can block them from your page. You don't have to friend them. You can unfriend them. You don't have to see it. So who cares about cyberbullying? But I decided not to even bring it up. It wasn't worth, I just didn't think it was worth my time. Nor did I thought it might go over like a lead balloon. So pick your battles. Choose your battles. Then they had the policy about the visitors to the school. Well, basically, if you're a visitor, you need to go to the office and get a visitor badge. And any adult on school premises without a visitor badge will be reported or should be reported. Excuse me, like I said, still a little under the weather here. Well, I don't really have any problem with that either. And then I mentioned to them that, I'm a member of the prepper group here, and I was just wondering if they were going to talk about, since it's about safety, about, what happens if there's an event during school hours. Communications will probably go down, the cell phone towers will be jammed, or they might be totally disabled, and maybe the roads are blocked, and about having, how are you going to communicate? Because parents are going to want to make sure their kids are safe. You might have all these parents trying to come in, create a traffic jam. So they recognized that that was a valid point, and they were looking for solutions. So I commend them for that, because this school board is so much better than the one they had back in the 90s. Those guys are just idiots. They were bullies. They were, a clique. They tried to run things and ram things down their throat. Maybe that's why parents don't show up. Maybe they think this school board's just like the other one. Now, this board's probably not perfect. No board would be. But it's a lot better. A lot better than what they used to have here. At least these people seem receptive. They're very gracious. They listen. Um, they make you feel welcome, not like you don't belong there. They even had coffee and cookies. I mean, it's just too funny. But when you're in a small town like Mayberry, things seem to be a little more cordial. And they even started off the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, including the words "under God." So, things are still kind of quaint here in Mayberry. Anyway, that's the take on the meeting. They handed out some papers and about the policies and everything. But the thing is, the reality check is that if somebody wants to go into the school and do some harm, there's nothing that's going to stop them. Nothing. And to disarm the students and disarm the teachers and staff just makes them sitting ducks. Especially here in Mayberry, when depending on time of day, there may be only 1 or 2 officers to respond. And the other officers from the mutual aid, other cities, the county, are at least 20 minutes away. So, it's almost like it's an accident or incident waiting to happen because of the laws that have been enacted and the policies set forth. And until there's a recognition by we the people that we need to have officials that want to empower the people to take care of themselves and not be dependent upon government and law enforcement to take care of these things, that maybe we can make sure that these things, if something does start, it ends quickly, as opposed to ending in a much bigger disaster catastrophe than need be. Because all it would take is just one person to stop it if they were properly armed. So, my fellow Americans, go out and check with if you're a parent especially, go to your school board meeting and find out what's going on. Be part of the solution. At least attempt to be part of the solutions. Because it's your kids' lives, your kids' education at stake here. Serious business. Just have to be involved. They asked me why I was there. I said, I'm just a concerned citizen, taxpayer. So, that about wraps things up. And once again, my fellow Americans, wake up, smell the tyranny.